All right, that was completely my fault. My internet. I'm gonna have to chat to my wife about that and get a new subscription. But so we were talking about running of the running of the turn and being efficient and the discipline required there. And you were just saying that John put a quarter mile behind you because he knew what you were going to do. And so yeah, I'm interested to hear how this goes.
Yeah, so I think he knew that I was gonna try to be a smart ass about it. And the gun goes off, I'm gone. But at 150, here comes the piano on my back, and the quarter miler starts to reel me in. I almost lose, and which is funny because it had been the only race I lost to another collegian in my UCLA career. And he basically comes to me after and in typical John Smith fashion says, "It's like, you ready to listen now, motherfucker?" And that was it. That's the last time it's the last time I ran the 200 like that. And I think it sort of shaped how I approached the 200 after that. Because I went, you don't have to run it like that to get a good time. On the day I ran my personal best 1977 in Stuttgart, if you'd have covered the clock, I'd have said, yeah, maybe I ran 19,920 flat. But I had become so efficient around the turn that I had everything to go home with. I see that now with Noah Lyles. Noah Lyles has improved his turn so much, but it's not just that he's running it faster, which obviously he is. He is expending less energy on the turn, and that's why he got that American record last year because he has the name of the game in the 200 is make sure you have a lot to go home with, and you see that with Noah Lyles, you see it with anybody who's been any good in the 200 in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, so I believe in that 1977, I believe you split through in 10:35. That's what I want to say for 100 meters. I don't think it
Yeah,
was a particularly
that sounds about
outstanding.
right. I only
Yeah.
have one sub. I only have one sub 10-2 that I know of in my career in the 200, and that's in the Atlanta race when I think
Mm-hmm.
Michael runs 10-12, Frankie runs 10-16, and I run 10-18
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
off of the turn. I don't think I know for sure that's my best turn. So I don't even have to look at the other ones because the the moment, the gravity of the situation, being in lane six with those two guys behind me, I know the urgency that I ran that turn. If I had to point to a race where maybe I was not as efficient or maybe didn't stick to the pattern as much, it was that race because I knew that I had to build such a lead
Yeah.
that those two wouldn't catch me. Obviously, that didn't work out for me that night, but yeah, I'm pretty sure without having the numbers in front of me that night in Atlanta in the Olympic final that was my best turn ever. Certainly the
Yeah.
fastest.
And I think just to kind of underline your point, right? If you, by the time you factor in reaction times, the greatest 200 meters or fastest 200 meters of all time is Johan Blake with that 19:26 from Brussels.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh god.
And I don't even think he was winning coming off the turn. Admittedly, it was a 19:5 that came second, but you run 19:2 and you're not winning coming off the turn. So I need to look at the splits. I'm sure those splits are out there for that 100-meter turn, but I would imagine it's not anything. It's probably pretty quick, but we're not
Which
talking.
further reinforces the point of it's a fallacy to think that you have to run great 200-meter races that you necessarily have to be one first off the turn or two
Mhm.
have to have the most amazing first 100-meter split. No, it's really about the 200 is going to test how well you manage your energy.
Absolutely.
Drain that tank early, you'll pay for it late.
Yeah.
Don't run the turn fast. I mean, I think of like Fambule, who has improved his turn markedly.
Yeah.
I look at him as a pro and I go, if he if he spent his entire career having to run down Knighton and Lyles and Curly and Norman, he is never going to see a podium. So, and I've talked to Mouse about this, his coach, Mike Holloway. They are improving his turn because they know, yeah, we know he can run the last 100. We just have to get him closer in the
Yeah.
first 100.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. He needs to be within striking distance. But I completely agree with what you say. Like the 200 meters, it's an exercise in distribution, right? Just you've got a finite amount of energy, and how you utilize it's going to get you the best return there. Um, that kind of leads quite nicely into the next question that I wanted to speak about. So in terms that related to technical aspects of sprinting and queuing, and it's something that I say this every person that I speak to. It's something that I think is really interesting because you can have two sprinters that run exactly the same time and they have a completely different thought process or things that they feel they need to focus on in order to have their technique right to get the best out of their performance. What, were there any kind of like really sort of meaningful technical cues that you felt worked for you?
I think if you look at John Smith coached sprinters, they are all going to have certain things in common. They're not going to have two knees on the ground at on your marks.
Yeah.
They are not going to drag their toes. And every one of them, this hand is going to be right there, eye level with every step. Not all coaches believe that, and quite frankly, that's fine. We're gonna run with open hands. Some coaches some coaches don't mind if their athletes have the fist closed. Some coaches don't mind if the athletes maybe have the arms dropped and the hands dropped a little bit, and that's fine. But as a coach myself, I was very old school, and it was very much patterned after a lot of the things that I was taught because I felt like they made sense in my head, one, and two, I knew I could coach them because of how indoctrinated and how much it was drilled into me. In fact, part of the reason why I've now been coaching guys, I mean, I have almost 70 clients in the NFL,
right?
In the actual NFL. Part of the reason why I stayed in the industry and have thrived in this industry is because when test football first came to find me, I said to myself, what possible use could I be to these guys? And they said, come with us to the combine in Indianapolis. And I went to the combine and watched these guys run 40 yards. And I said, how are these guys dying at 25 yards of a 40? And I realized, oh, that's what's missing from this industry, the drive phase. Go look at the combine now. Go look at a pro day now. Everybody's doing the drive phase. That's not by accident. That's because in 2009, I started teaching. I introduced that to that industry. I was there for the entire combine. Everybody was straight up running out of gas at 25, 30, 35 yards. So I stuck to what I was taught because it made sense for me. I watched it, break world records and will win Olympic titles and win world championships. But there are very few things. Well, I shouldn't say very few. There's certain things that I see athletes do or I see coaches teach, and I go, oh, I don't understand that, and it doesn't make any sense to me. There are other things that I go, okay, I'd never teach somebody that, but it seems to be working for them. So yeah. I think that this whole thing of everybody must do it in one way and everybody should look the same. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think that's the beauty of the sport. And that's what makes our sport amazing, right? You have the greatest sprinter ever male is Usain Bolt, and he's 6'5". And the greatest 100-meter sprinter female is Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, who is not an inch over 5 feet tall. That to me is the beauty of our sport. It's like, wait, so you don't have to be tall and you don't have to be a certain height or a certain weight or anything. When Su Bingqian ran that amazing semifinal in the semifinals in Tokyo, nobody was more elated for me because I'm like, you know how much BS I heard coming up about which race can't sprint, and I cheer on the Abby Steiners of the world. I cheer on the Su Bingqians of the world because to me that's the best thing about our sport. Doesn't matter what your color is, your race, your height, your weight, your anything. Put on the spikes, lace them up, and let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all the different body types, like there's success possible in all different body types. The only caveat to that I might say is past a certain point, like your body fat percentage. Like that's probably going to hinder something.
As John Smith always said, you never see a fat greyhound.
Right, yeah, there you go. And I think that so obviously like many roads to Rome in terms of what you were just talking about there, in terms of like race, body type, all that kind of stuff. And then in terms of like the cueing and the coaching. So I mean, you spoke about drive phase, and I love the concept of the drive phase. And to me, I don't term it that with my athletes because I just don't like the connotation of the word phase because I think you can end up with something that's quite choppy. But I love. To me, it comes back to the whole thing of it being what we spoke about with the 200, like distribution. So it's just a seamless kind of like efficient movement, and you're not having something where you're worried about trying to spin your legs really fast and abrupt changes of posture. So you're coming from this position to that position straight away. You're not popping up. But and I think again, you're talking about kind of this what makes our sport interesting. It's having
I tell my NFL, of course, when the American football players show up to my camp every January, and they're like, "What the heck is this thing that you're trying to teach me?" I say, "Okay, think of a bobsled.
Mhm.
You have the bobsled in your mind." They're like, "Yeah, I've seen it once or twice." I'm like, "Okay, picture what they do before they hop in the sled. Think of the angles that they're pushing
Yeah.
from. Think of the knee drive, everything." I said, "That's what I want you to do. Push the sled, get it going, then hop in it." I can't tell you that cue alone
That's
has
interesting.
I've seen minds that these guys have never run track. They don't know phase from drive, drive from phase. All they know is that I'm trying to teach them this weird thing, but they've seen enough results from my clients in the past to know, okay, whatever this guy says, it works, so let me do it. When I give them that imagery, all of a sudden they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay, I can do that."
Yeah, and that's the art of coaching, isn't it? Right, the art of teaching is trying to like just choosing the best way, selecting a way to convey a message which is going to resonate with the person that you're trying to communicate with. Okay, so let's jump into this was going to be my last question, but I'm going to give it now, all right, and then I'm going to come back to the next question. So, because we're talking about training, so favorite and least favorite track session. Was there ever a morning where you knew what John was going to set you, and you were just like, "I'm not sure I'm feeling this today, John. I don't know if I want to go." Yeah.
The question is, was there a day
So,
where John gave us
well,
something to
so
do and we didn't
yeah,
want to do it?
yeah. So your least favorite track session. So this is on the piece of paper, and you're just like, "Oh, I could do without this."
I was a training beast. Call up Maurice, call up John, you ask them who led practice the most,
Okay.
who finished the most workouts. I think John would again. I think it's a soccer background. I don't know. There are very few things that I really had an issue with. John made me do a workout once where it was like 200, but you're doing them from the 250 mark to the 50 mark.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the hardest thing I'd ever done. But it was also the year that I probably had my best year in 1998. Beat Maurice 2-1 that year. Nobody had a winning record against Maurice Green in his
Mm-hmm.
prime, and I did in
Mm-hmm.
'98. It was a workout where basically it was like, okay, 22 something for a 200, jog across the middle of the infield, go
Yeah.
give me another one that was like 23, and then try to match either of them on the last one. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna die today. But apart from that, 300s, you get used to them. 150s, I loved. I could do 60s all day. Um, I don't have any of those memories of, oh my gosh, today's Thursday and it's blank today and I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Okay.
die and I hate it. I don't have those kind of memories. I really was somebody who, because I understood that if you practice us at a certain level, competition is easy. I won't say I welcomed it, but I didn't dread it.
Yeah. Okay. So it was almost like short term. I don't know, sacrifice is the word, but
That's exactly what it was.
you could play the long game, right? You could like mentally kind of set it up that way.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Really interesting.